So hello YouTube. So I have a new camera. I hope that it looks better. I'm recording it, and I won't know until I edit it if its quality's better. Really, I would do some testing, but I'm not really sure if I have enough time before Sunday, because this is for Sunday. So today we're going to take a look at a German Panzerjäger 39H with a 7.5 centimeter Pak 40, otherwise known as the Marder I. Now there's a lot of different versions of the Marder I because they use different vehicles for it always. I think the most popular, the one that they use most is the Lorraine Chassis, but this is on a 39H chassis, and I'll probably get a couple of other ones too because they all look a little different, and I kind of like that. The same thing, but they look different, and they're easy to build. They're small, don't take up a lot of room. Here on the box art, well, here's some info over this tank destroyer. It says, along with several other French chassis converted to an artillery role. In 1942, 24 H-39 Hotchkiss tanks were converted to self-propelled artillery by the removal of the turret and redesign of the superstructure. So it has an open fighting department with the fighting compartment and a 75mm Pak 40 and an MG34, I think, too, but it's a crew weapon. Here on this side, we got some pictures of the finished tank. Mine probably won't look like that. I usually do it paint by hand, and you can get the this faded look, but it takes a lot of work. You have to use like some brush and sponge methods and stuff. So I already recorded this once with the old camera, but I got this one, and I'm gonna redo it. So everything's already open. And there's about like a lot other videos that I already did that I'm going to redo because I want it to look better. So here's the instructions. So we have 5 parts trees, a lower hull separately, and the track separately. Like normal, like often on armored vehicles, you start here with the chassis. You have to you have the drive sprocket, and then you have to build all the bogies here. And I think there's only 4 of them. Yeah, 4 bogies. Then here you you put on the support rollers and some parts for the suspension here, for the idler arm, and for the sprocket. So here we attach all the bogies and the sprocket and the idler arm. Number 5 is the track, which has a single piece of rubber track, so how that's going to look is always... Sometimes they look good, sometimes not. So here we are starting with lower hull parts. This looks like the transmission or something, or part of the engine. It goes here. You have a seat. Now that looks like an engine, actually. And that's maybe the drive shaft. Goes to the front. No, this is a sprocket. Not really sure how Hotchkiss is set up, but it looks like a part of an engine and part of the drivetrain here. That's the gearbox. It says there, it's a gearbox. So the gearbox is in the back. And the sprockets are in the front. Kind of a weird setup. Here you have the gun barrel and the piece that it rests on, that it sits inside of. I don't remember what the name of it is. I used to know all that stuff. I forgot. So here you're building together the whole gun. Here's the shield for the gun, and some parts, the handle for the breech. Here's the breech. Building the breech all together. And here we have the flash suppressor. The muzzle brake. Flash suppressor. It's not a machine gun. And here are some more. This is the the carriage for the gun. Building that together. Putting the gun inside of it. And here we have the part on the bottom where it all sits on. And the shield on the front. I always wondered what that was. I think it's something for sighting, but I'm not sure what it's called. Yeah, here's some of the interior parts. It looks like a pretty detailed interior. Maybe radios, it looks like. This is the back of it. So it has an enclosed back, doors. It has doors there. So here's the right side of the upper hull. Some ammo boxes, I think. Some other parts there. And here we're putting the upper assembly together. Yeah, radio station, magazine. And here we have some fenders and some tools. And we put the gun into the fighting station there. Some more small detail parts, some wire cutters, and another shield. It looks like. I'm gonna put the top of the hull onto the bottom. A couple mud fenders there. And here's the exhaust. It goes here in the back. And here's the front plate where the driver sits and everything. Machine gun on the side of the hull. And it has some crew members, and here's the tow panel and everything. And here are our painting and marking guide. It calls for dark green, red brown, middle stone. I think sometimes I do that wrong and use the Panzer dark yellow instead of the beige color that they used to use. But I just go with what I think looks good sometimes. This might not always be right. So let's take a look now at the hull and the track. You can see here, there's some detail there inside of the fighting station. And here on the side, there's some decent detail here. There's nice bolt heads around it. At the bottom, you have some pin marks here. You have to take care of that. But it does have some nice detail, and it has some texture to it as well, which is always nice. Sometimes it's really smooth plastic, and it's not supposed to really look like that. And the tracks. The tracks look really good, actually, but they seem a little thick. Which, if they're too stiff, they don't look right. But I think maybe, and I've never tried it, but if you use like a hairdryer on low heat, maybe it will kind of settle it in once you get it on. And kind of, put it on the tank, and then put a hairdryer, and maybe it'll conform a little bit. I might have to try that on the tank. Just thinking about it. But they look pretty good, actually. They're good detail on both sides for a piece of poly steering track, it looks pretty good. So here we have tree F, the crew members. Here's the radio station. It looks, I mean, you can see all the knobs and dials and stuff, but it looks a little weird, like the stuff in the back they did halfway. I don't know if that makes sense. We have a couple of vents, but they're not open, but they're pretty deep, so I think you can fake it with really shallow ones, and you can't really fake it, but if they're deep enough, then you put black in there, and then you have to really carefully paint the paint the grills, and it kind of, and it looks pretty good, I think, that way. The parts, there's no flash on it. The parts look pretty good. Here on the bottom of the fender, so there's a lot of pin marks, a whole lot of pin marks. So you have to clean that up. But the molding looks nice. So here we have some ammo. Here's the sides of the fighting compartment. And the back of it. These are the doors to the back. It does have a bit of texture to it, which is nice. Here the hinges look okay. Okay, I've seen better, but it's okay. And you have some rivets and bolts. Here, once again, we have a lot of pin marks. Here on the inside of the fighting compartment is a lot of pin marks as well. Gonna have to be filled and sanded down. There's a lot. Like 10. There's 10 on both sides. And this one's right in the middle of a piece of detail, which is really stupid. The back is the same. Here's 4, and here's 3. That's a lot of pin marks you have to clean up. I wish they need to do more slide molded. Slide molded models are cool. Really nice. This one's okay. The exterior detail looks good. The interior looks like it has a big scratch here. So it's gonna have to be sanded down and probably put some new texture to it. Oh, I forgot. The last one, that was tree E. And here we have tree H. We have the barrel and a lot of the gun parts. It's mostly all gun parts. I think it is all gun parts. Oh, and the exhaust is here. The exhaust, it's hollow. That's nice. And put a little black in there, and you have a really nice looking exhaust, really. You don't get that a lot. You either have to buy aftermarket if you can find it, or do it yourself, which is, you know, kind of, it's part of the detail, I think. There's, once again, there's no flash here. The exterior looks okay, but it might be some bolts here. It looks like something might be missing here, I'm not sure. See here, once again, a lot of pin marks on the back here of the parts. Really deep too. There's tree K, just a few parts on it. This is you know, part of the gun there. Once again, pin marks on the back. The exterior looks good, but the interior doesn't look good. There's a lot of cleanup on the interior to do. And it's an open compartment, so you really have to clean it up. This just has these 4 parts. Well, there's a couple little parts here too. Those are the pintle mounts. Just some nice bolt heads and nice hinges around here. Last one is tree A. This is all the interior and the suspension. Now that looks pretty nice. This piece here. This is the bolt heads around it and everything. This side of the wheels look good. You have little bolts around there. This too. and sprocket. That looks nice as well. Our bogies. This side looks nice. The support rollers as well. Some more interior parts here too. The seat looks okay. I think they could have done a little bit better texturing on this, whatever kind of cloth it's made of. I don't know if it's leather or whatever, but it should be a little wrinkly, like. Here, back side of the wheels, we got pin marks. A deep one there. Here's one that's sticking up. There's a deep one. Here as well, and pin marks. The back of the bogies, pin marks. The back of everything has pin marks. So any part that's exposed, like the inside of the fighting compartment, you're gonna have to fill that and sand it. It's gonna look like really terrible if you don't. The exterior, everything that shows on the outside of the vehicle looks good. Everything that shows on the inside of the vehicle does not look good. And look, the bogies would be okay because the wheels, these little wheels that go inside the bogies, you're not going to see any of it. Put the pin marks towards the back and it's not going to show. These big ones might show. Especially like, but you can probably, you know, do a quick fill job there and just a little sanding, and the rest is mud. Something like that. Okay, so it looks okay. The exterior detail is good. Interior detail not so good. I think it'll turn out okay, but it's going to take a lot of work on the inside. I think there's some missing detail on the inside too. Now it says on the box that there's an MG34 in a crew weapon, but they had one mounted on the side, and that's not a crew weapon, that's a vehicle weapon. Crew weapon is something the crew carries. So in my next video we'll be taking a look at this Junkers Ju-88C6 Night Fighter, 148 scale from Revell. I hope it turns out as good as the Ju-52 did. But I really didn't want a C6, I wanted like an A4. Or maybe, I don't know. I didn't really want a night fighter, I wanted a bomber or a strike aircraft, which this is. We'll look at it. So thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and until then.